All right, guys, so we're going to go over planks and how I want you to do them for this workout. This isn't the only way you can do a plank, obviously, but this is the little things I want you guys to focus on. So it's a good opportunity for us to work on that hollowed out position that we use so much in gymnastics and handstands and hollow bodies and stuff like that. So a couple things we're going to look at. Once you get into position, so you want your hands to be about shoulder width apart, and just for the sake of the wrist, it might help to also point your thumbs forward rather than your index finger forward. If we were doing push-ups or something, you'd probably be fine. If you have any pain in your wrists, you should definitely try turning them out a little bit. But for some other things further down the line, it helps to go ahead and start turning them out as well. So we want to set up with our wrist directly underneath our shoulder, right? So this would leave us with a vertical arm. What we don't want is our shoulder being behind the wrist or our shoulder being in front of the wrist, at least for our setup. So we'll get our hands in place, get our shoulders stacked over our wrist, and then we're going to send our legs back, and we want to get our body into a nice plank position. So what we want to see is that shoulder, hip, and ankle all are in relatively a straight line. So we don't want our butt way up in the air, or making more of like a peak, or we don't want like the worm position where our butt's kind of hanging down. So that straight line position, that would just be a typical plank. So what we're going to do is we're also going to look at some details with your shoulders and your pelvis position to get us in that hollow body position. So the first thing I want is from your shoulders, we're going to be protracting. So like a scap push-up, we're pushing our shoulder blades apart, driving our hands into the floor even further. So going back to that starting position. From here, we take our shoulders, push into the floor. It's not the same as rounding your back, although you might see, like if this is my shoulders retracted, it might look as though my back is rounding a little bit, but that's just actually the shoulder movement happening. So don't think spine, think shoulders. Once you're pushing into the floor as hard as you can, protracting into the floor as hard as you can, then we're going to go down and we're going to check in on our hips and our low back. So if we're just in a neutral position, we're going to have this natural curve to our low back. So what we want to do is we want to take our hips and we want to posteriorly tilt them. So tuck your tailbone under by squeezing your butt cheeks, and that takes your tailbone and tucks it under, right? So neutral, squeeze, and tucked under. What that will also do is kind of flatten out your low back. In order to support that, though, we need to squeeze the abs. So if someone came over and they were doing this to you with straight fingers, you want to be kind of tensed up for that. So you don't need to think push out or suck in, just think tense up. So if someone were to poke you or slap you, you'd be prepared for that. So we'll get back in that original position of the plank. We're going to protract our shoulders, and then we're also going to squeeze our butt cheeks and squeeze our belly, and we're going to flatten out that low back into a hollow position. So it looks like this. So protract, squeeze butt, squeeze stomach, tuck the tailbone under, right? So again, kind of looking for that straight plank position of shoulders to hips to ankles. So make sure that when you squeeze your butt and you tuck your pelvis, you're not getting carried away by rounding your upper back again. Upper back and lower back, two separate things. So that's the position that we're going to be trying to maintain. If that's easy, in other words, if you can hold that for a full minute, no problem. Then we're going to take it a step further by taking our shoulders and leaning them out over our fingertips. So that looks like this. We'll set up in that first position, protract, squeeze your tailbone, hollow out, and then we would also push up onto our toe tips, or tips of our toes, and lean our shoulders out in front of our hands. So now you're getting more into like a planche position, which is a bit more advanced. But again, if the first one, even paying attention to all those details, you're able to hold for 60 seconds straight, no problem, then you can take it there by leaning the shoulders forward to make it a little bit more challenging and make it a little bit more strong. And that'll lead to other things down the road as well. So pay attention to those points when you guys are holding your planks.